Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks Hockey Podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hey Anna, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I'm sick. Sicker than a dog. I mean, you and I already discussed this prior to hitting record, but now our listeners know.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound gross.
Yeah, so why is it sicker than a dog? Why is that saying? Like, do you know the etymology? Like, are dogs
No,
sick?
that's a good question. I wonder. I'm sure one of our listeners knows. I'm sure Google knows, but I have no idea where that comes from, actually.
Ma'am, no, it just occurred to me. Like, it's a common saying.
Is it like
Sicker than a dog.
rabies sick?
Maybe. I mean, and that would, like, could be like the old school, like, you know how a lot of nursery rhymes are about plagues and very bad things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you should read German nursery rhymes. They're all very dark.
oh, really?
Yeah.
What, the English and nursery rhymes aren't?
Yeah. But like German, not just nursery rhymes, but like fairy tales and stuff. All just incredibly dark. And the original Grimm tales are very grim, turns out.
You know what's grim? The future of the Vancouver Canucks this
Ooh.
season.
The future of the Vancouver Canucks this season.
This season.
So
Potentially longer.
I was like, the next
This
two
season
games?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched the last two. So obviously, you know, our listeners know we recorded a midweek episode last week because of reasons. And here you and I are chatting again only a few days later. I thought, you know, I actually had thought the Vancouver Canucks would roll over and play dead. They didn't. But it's not entertaining hockey.
You weren't entertained on Thursday?
No.
I thought the game on Thursday was okay, barring the first period, which was... but yeah, the game last night on Saturday, as we're speaking, was just talkie if you will. It was like sitting on a 2-0 lead. It was just...
With like one shot all game. 2 goals on one shot. Totally legit.
Yeah.
I know they had more than one shot, but like
Yeah. No, I was going to make a terrible joke about the extra shot to Derek Forbort's head.
dark.
Dark. It's way too dark. I'm sorry.
There'll be nursery rhymes with Derek Forbort. So yeah, you and I are going to talk about the result of those 2 games. We're going to talk about the 2 games that are up ahead. And yeah, what's next? Speaking of what's next, with the Vancouver Canucks season coming fast to a close,
Sure.
you and I are going to transition into our off-season recording schedule, where we record an episode every couple of weeks.
Yes.
Now, next week is a long weekend, as is our tradition. We don't record on long weekends, so next weekend, no episode. And then the weekend after, there will be one, and every 2 weeks thereafter-ish. I mean, big news, or
Yes.
you know how the NHL calendar all works
Yeah,
out.
yes. And, yeah, given there is no playoffs, I think maybe some extra time of reflection after the last game will do us all some good. And the playoffs will have started, so we can, like, have some stuff to talk about on that front as well.
Hockey's dead to me.
Oh. Are you going to not watch the first round then?
I don't know. Like, traditionally, when the Vancouver Canucks get eliminated, I will turn on hockey in the absence of anything else on TV. And it's background noise. It is akin to me throwing on, like, today I threw on the Masters golf tournament on TV.
That's dire.
For background noise. Now,
Although,
congratulations, Rory McIlroy, for winning his career Grand Slam.
Boys in green.
Okay, like, good on him, but like golf is not my thing.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so boring. I'm really glad. I was checking the score only because I knew that it was a big deal for Rory McIlroy, and kind of anything Irish usually gets me and my family excited. But my mum listened to every single ball. Not even watched, listened.
Is it on like broadcast on like BBC or Sky or something? Or?
It's not broadcast on any channel my mum has, and she's not one to stream illegally, so she downloaded the Masters app so that she could listen on the radio.
And it works outside of like the US.
Yeah,
That's actually
I guess so, because I guess it's just radio. Like, I mean, the NHL app works in the UK.
Certain radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but it's licensing agreements and all that jazz.
Anyway,
whatever. We're here to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the weekish that was. So let's dive into Rewind. I'm pretty sure I said the Vancouver Canucks were going to lose both games. I'm fairly confident that I had said that, although I'll be honest, I'm kind of in a fog right now, so maybe I didn't.
I think we both said they were going to lose both games.
But the game on was it Thursday against the Avs?
Correct.
I want to say it's Thursday. Lankinen was in net. Demko apparently is sick.
Is he sick? Or is he...
I don't know.
Karen Smith from Mean Girl sick? No, I'm sure he is, because really what's important to Demko right now is getting back to game shape, so, like, and being 100% as much as he can. So I'm sure he is sick, but it was just funny to seeing everyone go, yeah, I wouldn't play the rest of the games either.
Yeah. I mean, Vancouver Canucks won 4-1. I described the game as not all that entertaining. I'll concede. The second period, okay, sure. But it was a mean-nothing game, and Colorado dressed, an equivalent Abbotsford lineup to what Vancouver pretty much had dressed, right? Like, you had a game of hockey.
I mean, also, like, what was going on in the ice between Vancouver and Colorado was not the biggest story revolving around Colorado Avalanche that week. So, like, very much felt like, yeah, it wasn't a game of any consequence.
There was one moment where I was impressed, and that was in the third period when DPD discovered he had the dog. Yeah, he discovered he had the dog in him.
Yes.
Like he like, you look at what he does. He puts O'Connor onto the ice. He then, after the whistle, skates up to O'Connor and leans over him, where I presume DPD must be explaining to him where the local attractions in Vancouver can be found.
Yes, whenever he goes to Vancouver.
And then they throw down. And I like that little edge that DPD's got.
Me too, and we've always said that he's a player that uses his physicality well. I will say one point of note. So, friend of the show, Dan Murphy, tweeted out after the game that he'd asked DPD about the fight, and he said, "That's my first fight, not just in hockey, ever." That shouldn't be shocking, by the way. And, like, all the hockey men, like, stop getting in fights. That's just, like, my lesson. And maybe it's just my European sensibility, but I was like, yeah, of course, why would he get in a fight outside of hockey?
That actually surprises me, because it does look like DPD
Oh, yeah.
said, let's dance.
I think he's been...
And he danced quite well for his first dance.
And I believe he has been practicing and has asked for pointers, but, like, yeah, just it shouldn't be shocking that he hasn't been in a fight off the ice. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah. Anyhow, Vancouver Canucks win 4-1 in a game that matters nothing to them other than pushing them up the standings to avoid getting them, anything close to a decent draft pick.
Can we just, like, I know we'll get onto this, but one, it was cool to see Lankinen play well again. Like, he had a really good game. Okay. The empty netter that Niels Höglander scored was really cool also. Just waiting for it to come back and just tucking it in. It was kind of exquisite. And 3, like, there's not going to be any difference between picking 12th and picking 16th or whatever it ends up being.
There is. Sure there
There's
is.
4
Totally.
picks. There's 4 picks, yeah.
It's the odds. It's the odds of moving up.
With Canuck luck and just how high we can go. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. So Vancouver then had a game against the Minnesota Wild on Saturday. For the Canucks, it didn't matter squat. I had wished it did. For the Wild, it mattered quite a bit. And in a game that was the epitome of talk it hockey, the Vancouver Canucks had next to no shots and magically had a 2-goal lead going into the third period. Marcus Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk scoring goals. Minnesota, not for a lack of trying, kept running into Lankinen, who was doing everything in his power to keep his team in the game in the early going. But in the third period, it was quite clear that Vancouver was more than willing to play a defensive 20 minutes where if they got a shot, it was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just think there's a difference between being defensively sound and just being... It's actually more risky to sit back, right, at that point, because you're 2 goals ahead. That's nothing in hockey. And, like, we thought it was pretty easy for Minnesota to come back. Yeah.
Well, Faber's goal, 22 seconds in, it was an entirely different Wild team. And they arguably should have tied it up soon after, except it was a quick whistle that saved the Canucks hide.
Yeah, but that happens, like... I think Canucks were at the wrong end of a quick whistle like a week ago. So like it just happens all the time.
It goes both ways, but it didn't seem to, like, you'd think a team who's like, oh man, we benefited from a quick whistle. That's an opportunity. Let's not look it in this gift horse in the mouth. And sure enough, that's what they did. I genuinely think the Vancouver Canucks didn't get a shot on net until it was tied 2-2. At which point it was like, oh well, hey, And they had, like, there was a Minnesota power play where they had 5 forwards on the ice, and the Vancouver Canucks had a 3-on-2 and did not get a shot on net.
Can we just say isn't it crazy that the Canucks don't quit while they're behind, but quit while they're ahead?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen it a few times, and it just sucks. Like, sitting back on a 2-goal lead sucks. Like, it's just not sustainable.
No. And, we're looking at this game going into overtime where the Vancouver Canucks, for the majority of the time in OT, had control of the puck. The problem was they eventually lost control of the puck, and Minnesota wanted to win. It was clear and simple. Vancouver was just coasting at that point. They were just... let's see if we can get to a shootout. I don't know. I don't know if it's talk at hockey. I don't know if it's a symptom of the team and sort of where they are.
Yeah.
I don't know if they play safe to a fault, but they, like, earlier in the season, we would see glimpses if the team could go to OT, magic could happen. And then in the latter part of the season, it's like, well, man, they just want to get to a shootout.
Yeah, which sucks because they're not that great at that either. Like, not... shootouts are somewhat of a coin flip, but yeah. If I had to take positives from this game, and we all know I'm a very positive person, so Ty Mueller made his NHL debut, which
certainly did.
Very well deserved, I think. He's had a great year down in Abbey. We talked about last year about Year of the Tie, and him being the sort of foremost of the ties. Did you know that ties is short for Tyler? Thank you, Dave.
I would have, if you had asked me, I would have said Tyler.
Yeah,
but that's
I think
not because
99% of people would have said Tyler, but Dave Tomlinson said, I need to tell people this, that Ty is short for Tyler. Very funny that whilst he was making his NHL debut, he was also being awarded Unsung Hero down in Abbotsford, which is fair in a way, because when it doesn't look like you're going to get an NHL call-up or really get enough praise in the sort of Canucks press, Ty Mueller was kind of going a little bit under the radar. But yes, very funny for that to be happening at the same time. And obviously it was Marc-Andre Fleury's last trip to Vancouver.
Game in Vancouver.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Did you watch After Hours? I missed it with him.
It's on my YouTube playlist, but yeah, I was very much like, I need to go to bed. I have a netball playoff game in the morning. I'm tired.
The other thing that occurred in the third period was a fight. I think it was it Trennan that took a run at Quinn, I think, and then Forbort went to say, hands off my captain. But the pair got into a fight, and Forbort lost his footing, went down to the ice hard. That's when the linesman jumped in.
As they're supposed to do.
And Trennan proceeded to go and get in one more shot square to the temple or forehead of Forbort. You could see his head bounce off the ice. Like, Forbort couldn't protect himself. There was no avoiding it. And what transpired after that was that the referees announced that the major penalty was under review. Everyone had thought, I think, that, okay, they're looking at that final shot and they may assess, like, you know, a second 5-minute major or something along those lines, like deliberate attempt to injury or what have you.
Yeah.
I know Dave Tomlinson was talking about that's what, you know, that's why they would have announced it, is to give themselves the opportunity. I seem to think, because what also occurred, you watch the replay, Teddy Bluger spears Trennan after the shot. I think that's what they were reviewing. The 5 minutes was on Bluger, not on Trennan, which in my mind, I understand why they might do that. It wasn't a spear. They called it interference.
Yeah, and he gave him a slight poke.
Yeah.
To show his displeasure rather than...
I don't think it's come out as to what that 5-minute major review happened to be. But Trennan obviously thought when he got tossed out of the game that he had hurt his team more, because when the Canucks were, again, explaining to him there's fine establishments in Vancouver, he wanted to get more information and had to be dragged off the ice.
It was just like such a pathetic sight. Like, you've already made the cheap shot and it's really awful behavior, but you would think that any sort of sane person would think, oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. But no, not Trennan. He was trying to go after the Canucks. He was fighting the officials all the way. Yeah, it was, what a baby.
I think it was Faber that ended up pulling him and patting him on the butt to get him off the ice. Like,
yeah. Is there any news, or are we hearing about that tomorrow, more likely?
Well, Derek Forbort, there's no supplementary discipline on Trennan. The league has come out to say that there's nothing there. Derek Forbort, though, is done for the season with an orbital bone
fracture. That's horrible. But also, that's crazy. Like, how do you not get fined for the behavior after the ejection? That's, like, to me, that's crazy, because the lack of respect he showed the officials.
Yeah. There's a number of different areas where you can look at what transpired sort of at the conclusion of that fight and then thereafter. So the conclusion of the fight is that when a player is down and defensiveless on the ice, you stop throwing. Well, he threw one. He quite clearly did. Now, if you were to say he didn't realize that, Forbort was defenseless, okay. But his actions afterwards, like there's code violations. Not even talking about Department of Player Safety coming down. We're talking about code violations. And one thing we know, the Department of Player Safety is all about the Department of Player Safety and the code. So yeah, the fact that there is nothing, not even a fine for those antics, as you would say.
Yeah, I think
it behooves me.
Yeah, it just seems to me like the NHL, like the Department of Player Safety, has no respect for his officials, because if you're allowed to do that after an ejection, like, what the hell?
Yeah. Anyhow, the fact remains, Derek's out, Trennan's not. He gets to continue to play 5 minutes a game or whatever it happens to be he gets ice time for, and the Minnesota Wild are still in control of their own destiny. Flames won tonight. That's ultimately who's chasing Minnesota, but the Flames need either Minnesota or St. Louis to skid. And while St. Louis has come, not to a crashing halt, has lost a couple of games.
Yeah.
And an OTL. They're still in some control. Minnesota, though, I think Minnesota probably gets in at this point, because Minnesota's got a game. St. Louis has a game. Calgary has 2. And what is it? Regulation wins would be actually, so Calgary can catch up on points, but they can't catch up on regulation wins to St. Louis.
Right.
So Calgary would need Minnesota or St. Louis to lose out at this point.
Yeah, in regulation. Yeah. Very random tidbit, but during the game yesterday, Shorty was saying how it's Drew O'Connor's 82nd game of the season. So if he plays the remaining 2, he will have played an 84-game season.
Cool.
No, which, okay.
Does he get paid for those 2 extra games, or are those freebies?
I think those are freebies. But isn't it crazy to me that that's never happened to a Canuck before in the 82-game season time period?
I have to say I'm somewhat surprised it hasn't happened before, but I can't say it's ever something I ever thought of.
No, but when you think about, like,
when you trade for players,
that they've always been on the same number of games or behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Weird.
for it to never to have happened, like, obviously it did happen when they had more than 82 games, but, yeah, that's crazy to me. Anyway, that's a quiz question.
Well, hold that one next time you do trivia. So the Vancouver Canucks have 2 games left in the season. Both of those games are at home. They get to take on the San Jose Sharks tomorrow night, and then the Vegas Golden Knights on Wednesday night to wrap up the season. San Jose lost to the Flames. They are playing mean-nothing hockey, just like the Vancouver Canucks. I'm expecting a real barn burner.
I mean, I think it's still San Jose, so despite that game they had against the Minnesota Wild, I think Canucks should still, not say crush them, but win handily. I don't see the same happening against Vegas, but I am going to that game, so and we hope something fun happens.
We've talked about how Vegas may look to rest players going into the postseason. They are on the road, obviously. Maybe don't need to travel with everyone. The Vancouver Canucks, though, they're always good for an end-of-season stinker when they've been eliminated. Like, the number of times I remember them, like, playing their last game against the Flames or the Oilers and it being like an 8-2 final.
Yeah, but they've also had such a good record after elimination in general.
Well, yeah, no, why would you want to go down and get a better pick?
Yeah.
You want to go up. Show that you still got that fight.
And while I mentioned that I don't think it'll make much difference this year, there's definite years when it could have made a difference, and Canucks refused to lie down, so there we go.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So you say win and loss?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Yeah, I'm going to say win and loss, even though
I just really hope for an
it could be
entertaining
loss
game.
and loss. It could be win and win.
Versus Vegas. Like, I cannot watch the game. The last game I watched was the Utah game, and I just think I died of boredom, so I cannot do that again.
Yeah.
But I did take the day off afterwards, so I'll drown my sorrows if it's terrible.
Okay. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks to recap whether or not anything came out of those 2 games.
Sure, why not? Among other things.
You're listening to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna and Chris.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
In what was the sort of last, Hockey Night in Canada, Saturday experience, Elliot Friedman was dishing some juice and suggesting that.
And what was Juice doing?
Well, Juice was dishing juice too, but different.
Sorry.
Vancouver Canucks still remain steadfast in trying to extend Rick Tocchet, though the belief is that if Rick doesn't wish to extend, there's the likelihood the team won't bring him back on just the option into a lame duck season. Mm-hmm. That sort of lines up with what you and I were thinking-ish.
Yes.
I know you were a little more, I could see them exercising and bringing him back, so it's not too late. But
And Patrick Olveen has said, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. But I think that means they don't want to do it. But, Quinn wants him back.
The reason why they don't want to do it is they don't want to pay a coach for half a season if they decide that they need to let him go.
100%, which is a much more likely option when you have a coach who doesn't want to be there. But I do think, let's say, I think talks have accelerated over the last few days. So
I really hope if Tocchet comes back, we don't get a future of Tocchet hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, Tocchet hockey in the current sense. Like last season was an exciting season. He seemed to allow the team to have, creativity and control on the ice. But this season, oh my God, it just felt like he was coaching for his job. I don't know. I don't want to say he was coaching for his job because it didn't occur to me that it was that was the case. But it was just a very boring experience. And yeah, you could say some of that's personnel, but I don't like that style of game. It's not for me.
What seems to have happened for sure is that last year when things were going right, he was able to push the team to the next level, but he doesn't seem a great motivator in creating attacking hockey when the team is kind of struggling with injuries, with various other problems that we've had this year.
But even then, like when Hedl came to Vancouver, nearly every person, and I know that's hyperbole, was suggesting that, oh, well, hey, your game's going to change because Tocchet hockey doesn't allow for that. Unfortunately, Hedl didn't finish the season.
Yeah, we never got to find out, really.
Right. But the fact that I think most people had expected that he would be told to be smarter with the puck seemed to correlate with how Tocchet hockey is about defensive responsibility, and the only way you get the puck into the other zone is if Quinn Hughes brings it in or you dump and chase, which is just boring.
Yeah, and obviously Quinn Hughes likes playing with Rick Tocchet, and that's big. I do think like the staff around Rick Tocchet have had another good year, and personal reservations about his family aside, Adam Foote seems to be really good for Quinn, and in general good for maybe what is not the strongest blue line.
Yeah. And then the other thing that came out, and this actually came out as part of a podcast, but it does sound like Brock Besser has resigned himself to moving on from Vancouver. It's not that ship has sailed, but the engines have been fired up and they're throwing the lines loose.
Do you know anything about boats? Or was that the sum total? Yeah.
Well, I watch was it Below Deck, the reality series? So
that's weirdly popular. PJ, friend of the show, PJ, also loves that.
He used to watch it.
Oh,
he used to watch it. When we talked earlier this season, yeah, he's
gone overboard.
I asked him, he's like, oh, no, man, I don't watch that anymore. I'm like, you jerk. I used to like PJ. He's no longer a friend because he doesn't watch Below Deck.
Wow. Yeah, Brock Besser. Like, obviously, we've been talking a lot about this in Discord today and yesterday, about Brock being vocal about his time coming to an end. But surely, it's just like, the ship has sailed, whatever happens, right? And 2 games left, they're just gonna... I just think you're overpaying ridiculously at this stage. Do I wish they'd re-signed him to slightly more? Yeah, I think so. I think I would have rather he stayed at a slightly increased rate, but I would have been okay if they had made the decision to trade him.
Well, this trade, never occurred, likely due to the fact that the team needed to make the playoffs, right? Like, you don't trade Brock Besser and improve your team in the short term.
I mean, you don't, but yeah. Now we're between a Brock and a hard place.
You've never dropped that line before, ever, I'm certain.
Not recently.
Not
recently.
I think it might have been a title of an episode.
It could have been, but it was a while ago. It wasn't about this current situation.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this sort of that last episode. When you look down the middle of the ice for Vancouver, not a whole lot going on there right now. And if Brock and Pia Suter are off to a different locale,
Yeah. We don't. Philip Heel's future is uncertain. Pedersen, we hope, is coming back with a bang, but we don't know.
Although there's still discussion that the team might look to trade him.
Yeah.
Before his, no movement kicks in. If they don't bring back Brock and they don't bring back Suter, not to suggest that Suter or Brock are Petey. I'm a big Petey stan. I think that's very clear to all our listeners. You can't lose Petey.
You can't. We've talked to...
Blow the team up at that point. Get something for Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn is not staying for a rebuild. And we've said time and time again, make Quinn happy. And it looks like that's bringing back Rick Tocchet. And you got to bring back Petey. Or you got to keep Petey and not trade him. He could...
But the only thing they could do is if they trade Petey is it's to New Jersey in an effort to bring, Luke and Jack to Vancouver.
I mean, that would be literally the only thing that would keep Quinn here, is doing that. So, yeah. Quinn will stay past Brock leaving. He won't like it, but he will, he'll do it. That's not a deal breaker for him, but yeah, you got to give enough of a reason to stay. And if Brock's going, something needs to be reassessed, and it's probably down the center. Not that that's an easy thing.
What are you talking about? There's so many centers in the market, and you
what
can
about
sign them for really good prices.
18-year-old, 39-year-old Sam Bennett? Okay, he's not 39, but he is in his 30s, right?
I don't know.
28. Okay, sorry, Sam. But I'm not saying he's a terrible option, but you will have to overpay for him.
Yeah, I worry the Vancouver Canucks have not done enough to solve past problems and have found themselves in the position where they have too many problems to get themselves out of the mess. You consider the blue line is still an issue. It's better. I think having Pedersen on the blue line with a healthy Hronek and a healthy Hughes is good. DPD is looking like he's able to, quit himself well. If DPD continues to evolve and could potentially have, second pairing minutes, maybe there's a solution there.
Yeah, but it's asking a lot of a recent AHL grad.
Yeah, and it goes to, this post that I made on social media during the season. I'm I wish at some point in time I didn't have to rely on a long list of what ifs
100%.
for the Vancouver Canucks to be successful. What if Petey returns to form? What if Demko returns to form? What if, what if? All of these what ifs. It's been only a handful of seasons where it hasn't been what ifs. In fact, the seasons where the team's been successful, more often or not, it's success because of the lack of what ifs. I mean, last season was a what if, and all the what ifs we didn't even think of.
Yeah.
There was success, but it all came crashing down when the card of what if, or the what if card tower.
But yeah, like you say, the what ifs worked out in the Canucks' favor last year, and they mainly have not this year. Yes, there's been some good additions.
They mainly do not work out most years,
and they don't. You're taking a massive chance. Every time you depend on what ifs. I do think there's been some good additions. I think the Canucks have built some good depth. But that doesn't, it doth butter no crumpets. Really, you could...
Crumpets are tasty.
I love crumpets. Mm-hmm. I believe their phrase is actually
they are tasty.
Parsnips, but I like crumpets better, so... Anyway, yeah, there needs to be more.
More crumpets.
More crumpets. Definitely more crumpets.
Crumpets. I put jelly on mine. Grape jelly.
What's the... no, nothing grape. I think that's probably an affront to English culture, so...
Yeah, well, I am not English.
Neither am I, but, I think they'd be offended by that.
So, lots is going to happen over the course of the offseason. Or maybe, scarier, nothing does.
That is a scary thought.
They'll sign players. They have to because they need X number of contracts to start the season.
And you can't just keep skimming the top two lines off the Abbotsford Canucks.
Yeah. So, it's just... we'll need to sort out what's going on at the coaching position. They need to figure out where to find 3 centers, maybe 2. They need to sort out, a second pairing defenseman, and ideally, some third pairing defensemen that are reliable and durable.
That's the thing. It's just like Kyle Myers has been pretty decent this season, but like that's not a look to the future. That's like, thank God he kind of worked out. He's 35. And Marcus
Chaos Giraffe ain't getting younger.
Marcus Pettersson is not a spring chicken either.
Is he a spring giraffe? He's pretty tall.
Yeah, he's Swedish. He's tall. But yeah, like,
will the crease be okay? Because Lankinen was giving us some serious, not entirely sure.
Oh no, Lankinen's back, so it's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. And who knows about Demko? Oh, all these what ifs. You would put down team awards. I again have to admit,
just do them off the
didn't give it
dome.
any thought.
Do them off the dome.
Well, okay, they're going to give unsung hero to Garland.
You think so?
It was either Garland or Kiefer Sherwood, although
you can't can I just say I think they are going to give it to Kiefer Sherwood, because I know like this is voted on by the general public, but like the general public are dumb. See the last few years of major elections. But yeah, you cannot hold someone that holds an NHL record that he just broke this year. Like, he's not an unsung hero. Like,
in fact, the way unsung works, the more singing, the more.
Do you know who I put as unsung hero? Partly as a wind-up.
Who?
But kind of being serious, if we're buying the letter of the law, Eric Brandstrom.
Not even a
Vancouver Canuck, but I feel like he had a few poor games before he left, and everyone used that to tar his whole.
Was that actually a choice?
What do you mean?
That couldn't have been a choice. Like,
no, you just write it in.
Oh, jeez. MVP Quinn Hughes.
MVP Quinn Hughes. Best defenseman Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes. Best forward Quinn Hughes.
Most exciting player.
Oh.
I mean, it's easy to give it to Quinn Hughes, but in the spirit of someone different.
So if Kiefer Sherwood gets unsung, he's not most exciting. But I could see Kiefer Sherwood being most exciting if he's not unsung.
Yes. Maybe Junior will get unsung hero, even though he's really not played that many games.
Yeah.
But he's the recency bias. Like, I don't think unsung hero even has any options, to be fair. You just write in.
Oh,
which is why I could go full wind-up merchant and pick Eric Brandstrom.
Tom Lorscheid, unsung hero.
Oh, love Tom.
I miss Tom.
Love Tom.
What else? What other votes are there? Awards? I don't remember. This is Cyclone Taylor. That's the MVP.
I think that's it.
And then there's the 3 Stars Award. That'll be Quinn. I can't think any other.
Yeah, it must be Quinn.
Got enough. Best goaltender, Kevin Lankinen.
Okay, well, I don't think that's an award. That would be a harsh award, because it's like you're picking between a maximum of 3, maybe 4 goalies. Like, yeah. Did we already talk about the Masterton nominee? Yeah, we did, right?
Oh, Masterton, yeah, we did last week.
Yeah, or a couple of days ago, but yeah.
Dakota Joshua.
I mean, he should 100% win it. Like, but yeah, we know there's no justice as the NHL awards, and they don't understand what the definition of awards are either.
Did I read correctly that the NHL awards aren't going to be actually broadcast this year?
I think they want to move them from Vegas, but I thought that was next year. But honestly, I don't know.
I thought, because and then like the NHL draft isn't going to be.
They want to re-centralize the draft.
Yeah, like everyone stays at home, kind of like the NFL, or what, I don't know. It's the NHL. Things were working, and I know I'm the one who says change is good, but sometimes there's changes they make, and I just haven't a clue why. Like the changes they make, I don't understand. The changes I wish they make, I don't understand why they don't.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does feel like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because, yeah, it's hockey. Like, there's so many bigger issues that we could be tackling.
Yeah. Anywho, here we are, end of the episode. It's shorter because, again, we only had a couple of games to talk to because the Vancouver Canucks, only had a couple of games since we last recorded due to our, issues.
Of
Season's
various
almost
issues.
done. The, chutzpah is just not chutzpahing anymore. It's just is what it is. The great words of Todd Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
There's been some interesting quotes in the Vancouver sports sphere. It is what it is. That's obviously one. It's like a 7-tanker day. That was like I think it was Versace or whatever, the GM or president of the Grizzlies. And what he was referring to is the tankers that are out in Burrard Inlet.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Essentially, he was trying to imply that when all the media showed up to interview him at his home, because that seems like a logical place to do media availability. When a lot of media were there, he called it a 7-tanker day because that means there's a lot of tankers in the harbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll play seems like a pretty epic one.
He'll play on crutches. Yeah, but that's a good one.
Yeah. I just thought you meant famous.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like the sayings that, like, I'm going the other direction.
Fair enough.
The ones that don't make sense, but yet remain synonymous in Vancouver sports culture. Yeah. What are you going to get up to this offseason?
What?
Anything?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll watch the Stanley Cup playoffs a little bit at least. And I will hopefully continue watching Abbotsford in the Calder Cup playoffs. We'll see how they get on, but...
They finally lost, I heard.
Yes, 13-game winning streak was all she wrote, but they lost in overtime to the Wranglers. But yeah, they're still, considering the fact that Vancouver keeps taking half their players, they're doing pretty good, so could be interesting. If everyone remembers, the Calder Cup playoffs are slightly funky in the way their rounds work, so yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to be watching the Vancouver Whitecaps, who continue to win. So I haven't published the episode of Off the Rails yet because I'm lazy, but we were talking about it because I was missing it because we were recording a podcast and like it was bonkers. Vancouver Whitecaps are now taking on Inter Miami in the CONCACAF Club Championship. And then this weekend, they beat the living daylights out of Austin FC. Austin had given up 3 goals this season. They gave up 5 in Vancouver.
There you go. They're on fire.
So, yeah, I'll be watching that. And obviously, pimping out my new Whitecaps newsletter.
Yes.
From 231.
From 231. Everyone, please go and sign up for that.
Yeah, it's from 231.ca.
There you go.
Shameless plug. If our listeners reach this point of the show and they want to get bonus episodes of C4, otherwise known as C4 Off the Rails, they can go to buymeacoffee.com/C4podcast to buy me a coffee, otherwise known as
Buy Me a Pint.
And if you subscribe to us on a monthly or annual basis, you get access to C4 OTR. OTR gets published weekly during the season. It'll be every 2 weeks, just like the main show in the off season. Though, obviously, if you miss us that much, you can get bonus Anna and Chris, where we truly go off the rails. We talk about all sorts of stuff. And like every OTR is like truly OTR. There's very little discussed when we go into it. We riff and vibe and we have a good time.
The last one was particularly crazy, so look out for that.
Yeah, when I publish it. And I might publish 2 together. I don't know. And if you want to carry on the conversation with us over the course of the off-season, C4 Discord's the place to do it. Discord.io/C4 podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms. Heaven forbid, again, we use the same handle. We're at the C4 Podcast on X. We are the C4 Podcast on Threads and C4podcast.com on Blue Sky. We get a lot of notifications on Facebook, but I can't for the life of me figure out
if you're
how
still on
pages
Facebook.
Work.
Like, sorry, but don't.
Any final words of wisdom?
Feel good story of the week. We alluded to it earlier, but captain of the Colorado Avalanche, Gabriel Landeskog, hasn't played in 2 years almost, or over 2 years, and was back on the ice, scored his first professional goal. So that's pretty cool. Who knows what the future will
down
hold?
in the A.
Yeah. Which keeps being emphasized like it's not a professional league. Like, it was only in the A. It's just like, okay, well, he hasn't played in 2 years, so him playing a professional game is fine.
I'm not trying to say, it's only the A. Just
no,
that he's
other
down
people
in the A.
have done that, though.
Oh, okay.
And it's just baby steps.
You haven't played for 2 years. When was we heard this year for Vancouver Canucks, who was it that was down and Alan Walsh came out and was like, ain't no way that player is going to be, was it Ronick playing in Abbotsford or something like that?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Okay. It used to be that was the thing. You would get a conditioning game coming back from a long-term injury with the AHL club, maybe 2, and then you would come back. And it's just, again, I see the logic in that, getting into game shape. I understand why they don't do now insurance and all that, but it is a rare occurrence when these players who are on a conditioning stint with the AHL club actually play AHL games.
I mean, yeah, he's been 2 years. He needed something, right? And you can't step right back into NHL speed, I think. It's kind of dangerous in a way to step right back into that sort of level.
Words of wisdom from me. This is not an ad. It is simply a shout out to the Urban Safari Rescue Society out here in Surrey. My daughter had her birthday party there this weekend. It was a fabulous time. The staff there are phenomenal. The kids absolutely had a ball. And it is a great place. They are, as a rescue society, taking in animals who are otherwise, abandoned, given up, or maltreated, and take care of them. And unfortunately, far too many people continue to make poor decisions. And thankfully, Urban Safari Rescue Society is around to help them out. Though again, they only have so much space. So if you're in the area, check them out. They're pretty cool.
Nice.
So on behalf of Anna, A4603, myself, Chris at Lightforce, I'm going to sign off this episode with We Out.